out of it. So welcome all the participants that are here tonight. As you know, my name is Rashid Ali. I'm the crime prevention specialist for Northeast. So we have two. The other one is Nick. You guys are very aware. Nick has anything south of the Broadway border. I have anything over north of Broadway. So we each respectively have about 11 neighborhoods that we're in charge of as crime prevention specialists.
Hey, Rashid.
Yeah.
Could you go full screen on the just presentation mode, lower right?
Gotcha. Give me 1 second.
Just a little bit. Actually, on the other side of the. Nope. Or you can go.
Oh, okay. So just start the presentation.
Yes.
Right? Okay, I can do that.
Perfect. Thank you.
From current slide. How's that?
That's great. Now it looks great. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. No problem. So as I was saying, there's two crime prevention specialists, and we both have about 11 neighborhoods that we're in charge of. When we talk about community policing, this is one of the bedrocks of community policing, is trying to establish a partnership between community members and the police department. And in doing so, the Block Club was originally designed to install as volunteers as many Block Club leaders as possible. And the goal at the beginning of this program was 90%. So our goal citywide was to see if we can organize 90% of the blocks in the city of Minneapolis, with each precinct having their crime prevention specialist and or crime analyst. In this case, it would be Luther Kruger, who's in charge of the Block Club Leader program, to see if we can keep track of the organization. And prior to the pandemic, Nick and I would occasionally go out, and as we door knocked, either when we were responding to a crime or when we were trying to inform a specific block or a specific neighborhood about things that were occurring, we would recruit people and to try to see if they were interested in becoming a Block Club leader. So it's always a standard question we ask people is, as we're presenting things, if they're interested and we get the sense that they're interested, we would always ask, do you want to become a Block Club leader? And that's how we would recruit. Block Club leaders, or what is a Block Club leader? It's completely a voluntary person who lives in Minneapolis, who communicates with the police department. Their information is private. We do not share it with anyone. If anyone wants to get a hold of a Block Club leader, we say to that individual, we'll have the Block Club leader contact you. This is an individual that is interested in safety, and they get information from us when things happen. Serious things happen, we normally communicate with the Block Club leaders. And so the idea is to work with the police department and to work with neighbors to reduce crime opportunity. And this is something that we emphasize as crime prevention specialists, is to reduce the opportunity for a crime to occur and ways that we can do to eliminate. So that's the definition of a Block Club leader. It's completely voluntary. People can leave anytime that you want, and you can join anytime that you want. And we can even have, and this is a question that I get, multiple Block Club leaders on one block. So it doesn't have to be just one. The other two requirements, or the only other one requirement that we want people to be aware of is that if you're going to be a Block Club leader, you have to host 2 events per year. So one is, it can be National Night Out. That's a very popular one that a lot of the Block Club leaders utilize. And then the other one can be anything. It can be a cookout. It can be wine tasting. It can be a neighborhood association that wants to get together, or it can be, in one case, in the Columbia Park neighborhood, I was able to meet with a Block Club leader who hosted a dinner at their house to discuss an issue of something that was happening in the Columbia Park neighborhood. So that's just an example. So 2 events is all that is required for the whole year to become a Block Club leader. So what does this do? It creates a stability. It creates a culture where neighbors are looking out for each other. It gives people an opportunity to get to know each other. And this is what we want people to do. We want people to share information, and we want people to collaborate and to work together, whether it's businesses, whether it's neighborhood associations, whether it's Block Club leaders. So it is to create a strong block where information is being shared. And so to do that, we want people to be active bystanders. We want people to participate, and we want people to be aware of what's happening in their neighborhood. And in doing so, when things happen or a report is completed, by us, an incident happens on a block, we will contact that block club leader and say, hey, I don't know if you noticed or not, but over the weekend we had a very serious incident happen on your block. Would you like to share it with your neighbors? So we give that information to the block club leader. That block club leader then organizes a get together for his neighbors and shares the information with the neighbors. So it's a really good way of communicating with the neighborhood. But to also be an active bystander, you have to know what is considered normal for your block. And when we say be an active bystander, meaning that you have to know when your neighbor goes to work, when the mailman delivers the mail. So things that are normal, like a baseline of normal, when you know that, you can spot what is considered abnormal, like suspicious activity, suspicious individuals, suspicious cars. And so once you have an understanding of what is considered routine for your neighborhood, you can spot those things, and you can get ahead and observe and report, and make sure you can call the police. So this is just kind of basic philosophies that we train block club leaders to be active bystanders. So we'll go to a few tools that we use to train block club leaders in how they can report information to their neighborhood and to the people that live in their block. And we'll talk about 911 and 311 and the difference between. A lot of people know that, but sometimes we get a lot of questions because some people don't know what category fits in as an emergency. There's some gray areas. So we want people to share information, and some of the tools that we use is through the city of Minneapolis's website on its own. So you can, even to this day, still get crime information. And we start with what 99.9% of the people on this planet always do, is you Google something to kind of get a foundation of where to start. So we always encourage people, look up City of Minneapolis crime alerts or City of Minneapolis crime facts. And so what that brings you is, once you look it up on Google, it brings you to a few bulletins of things that we use. One of which, and I'll come back to these slides, but once you sign up to get alerts, you can also look at some of the dashboards that we use as part of City of Minneapolis. So for those of you that are watching this recording, obviously this is not something that you can press right now, but once you go to the City of Minneapolis, these are some of the dashboards that we use to be transparent as a policing agency and as a police department. So this is Chief Arredondo's mission, to be more transparent and to share more information. So in this is a lot of tools that you guys could use to get information. So you can look at interactive crime mapping, which we talk about. I know Nick talks about raids online a lot. So we'll go over that. Use of force is an example. I know more people, a lot more people are interested in that now. Arrests, officer involved shootings, and a few other information. But raids online is the one that we always come back to. And once you go to raids online, by the way, and you Google it, it changes to Nexus Community Crime Map. And that's what we use. And so you enter your address, and then you select what you want and what you're interested in. So what is bothering your neighborhood? What sort of crimes are occurring in your neighborhood? And what do you want to know? So if there's specific things that you want to target, as you guys can see to your left here, you can select what sort of crime impacts your neighborhood the most. So as a block club leader, what do you want to be aware of? What are your neighbors saying? What are people reporting to you? What sort of questions are you getting? And based on that, can you build your search around that? So if you're being heavily impacted by theft from motor vehicle, you can select your block that you live in and the people that live on that block and what they're interested in, and you can talk about that, and you can share the number of theft from motor vehicles that have occurred, and you can get a report anytime a report is completed for a theft from motor vehicle, and you can share it with your neighbors. So this is a wonderful tool, and you don't have to fly blind and not know what's going on in your neighborhood. This is something as a block club leader you could always just search. So it's a good tool to have. Now to go back to some of the other stuff, this is how you sign up to receive the MPD email alert. But we also have if you're interested in crime information, if you're interested in police reports, if you're interested in a X amount of police reports, for instance, if you live in the Como neighborhood and you want to know how many police reports were completed in a building that you live in, that's information that we can give you. It's the City of Minneapolis crime information. So I'll share. I didn't include that slide in here, but if anyone wants to know how to get information for police reports, you can email me and I'll send out the slide that I forgot to include in here. So that's some of the other ways that you guys can sign up for crime alerts. So let me go back to what else did I miss? This talks about broadly how the sectors are divided and neighborhoods are divided. So if you want to go above and beyond and you want to join neighborhood associations and you want to attend meetings like TUPAC and other neighborhood associations, this kind of gives you an idea of how the system of information that we use and how we sign up people, just kind of a general overview. And then it also has the crime prevention specialist contact. So some of you might know other people who might be interested, other block club leaders that might want to join. And so if we don't cover, if it's not Nick's or my area, listed in here is the crime prevention specialist that they can reach out to. The bulletins, we send out bulletins through Gov Delivery. Most of the time, Nick and I, if we have a serious crime advisory that we need to send out, we send out the crime advisory through Gov Delivery. In addition to that, what we do is we don't take that information for granted. We don't assume that because we're sending a bulletin through through the Gov Delivery system, that the block club leader is going to get it automatically. They should, and they're signed up. Most of the time, they're signed up. But sometimes we get emails where they say they don't receive Gov Delivery notifications anymore. So we reach out to them directly, and we send them the bulletin that we've created on Gov Delivery. So I'll move on to the next piece of information. I think we talked about Emily. How am I doing on time? Cody?
You're doing well.
Okay. I just don't want to go over. I don't want to. We call it loining, by the way. If you go over,
No,
let me know.
You can go ahead and finish. Yep.
Okay. All right. So this is. I'm not going to touch every point here, but we talked about the philosophy of being a block club leader, and again, the basic tenet is you want to be a point of contact for the police department so that we can reach out to you. That is the foundation of being a block club leader. And so what this also talks about is what area you want to cover. So if if you're a block club leader, you're in charge of that block. And so you don't have to go above and beyond. Sometimes we get questions about how far does it go? What is my area of coverage? So you can be the block club leader for that block. And so that just kind of clears things up. Block club leaders don't always have to focus on crime. So if you have livability issues, that's something that you can talk about with your neighborhood. If you have positive things that you want to talk about, you can share that information with your neighborhood. If you have positive interactions with the police department and things that we've done to create a good connection between the community and the police department, that's something block club leaders could share. And we always encourage to mix it up. And so you don't want to always be the bearer of bad news and be the person that brings crime and just things that are not always nice to talk about. So it can be oriented around sometimes sharing good news as well. And so we talked about door knocking, how we door knock, Nick and I door knock to recruit block club leaders. And so if you know anyone who wants to become a block club leader and wants to reach out to us, so one of the most important questions that we get is, okay, if I'm interested in becoming a block club leader, how do I actually sign up? And it's really easy. And so once we have listed our information, Nick and I, we love hearing directly from people who are interested. So the best thing to do, at least in Northeast, other crime prevention specialists in other precincts might do things differently, but Nick and I would love to hear people directly. So if you're interested in becoming a block club leader, email us. If you're in Northeast, email me. If you're in Southeast, email Nick. And so once we have your information, we'll add you to the database. And when we have enough block club leaders interested in signing up, and we can say, okay, now it's the time to do a training, we will organize a training. And so that's just kind of a reminder of if you're wondering, how do I sign up? What's the best way to sign up? And then you can also determine what is the best way to stay connected. If you're a block club leader, are you more social media oriented? Are you good at social media? If that's the way you want to communicate with your block club the people that live on your block, the people that live in your neighborhood. That's the best way to do it. So we don't necessarily, the Minneapolis Police Department doesn't have a social media account, at least in the second precinct. I don't know about other precincts, because that's just kind of a rabbit hole where we don't want to go down that road. And so at least for now, things might change in the future. And so this is, again, it's about problem solving, is to figure out what can we do to get accurate information, how do we get involved, and so do we, you know, what's the difference between 311 and 911, and all that information is in here, and we can talk about just the basic difference between 311. As you know, 311 is for non-emergency services, and I think we actually talk about that towards the end here. Let me go to that. You know, so stuff like street issues. So if you have street lights that are out, traffic, cars that are parked in the street for a long time, this is something that you guys could report as block club leaders. Sometimes bikes will be left on a pole for a long time. So things like that. 911 is for more serious incidents, things that need a police response. So think, if I need to call 911, I need a police officer to respond. I mean, that's how we try to frame people about thinking how should they call 911 and whether they should call 311 as well. So if you're confused about it and you're on the fence and you really need a 911 response, call 911. So we don't want people to second guess themselves. The dispatcher would actually filter out your call, and so they know what your call is about, and they know the appropriate personnel that should respond. Crimes, did I go back? Am I missing anything here? Talked about active bystanders. Again, some basic guidelines for calling 911. So one of the things we look at, is there a crime in progress? Again, these are questions that a dispatcher will ask you. Attempted auto theft, burglary, robbery, sexual assault, some of the more violent crimes. If you see those things and you see those activities, call 911. Don't hesitate. And then if you're witnessing suspicious activity, this is something that in light of recent events in the city of Minneapolis that we're having discussions about, police, you know, racial profiling of Black and brown people. So we've gotten tons of questions from residents that live in Minneapolis in second precinct that have asked me personally, you know, if sometimes I'm on the fence. I don't want to seem like I'm racial profiling someone. How do I call 911 if I see suspicious activity, but at the same time, I don't want a racial profile? And so we've answered that question historically, and we've always said, look at the behavior, not the person. So what about the behavior seems suspicious to you? If you're just reporting a man that's just walking in the street and he's not doing anything, you're probably profiling. If you see that man all of a sudden start to grab the doors of the cars that are parked in that street, that's suspicious activity. The behavior all of a sudden changed. And so we always remind people, look at the behavior, not the person. So just basic ideas for how to call suspicious activity. Again, more tips on calling 911. So I don't know. I have to share if there are any block club leaders or people who are interested in becoming block club leaders. I can share this presentation with them in case I miss anything. I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible so we don't go over my time. So again, this is, you can now actually, I know some people know this, but you can actually complete the police report online. So if you don't want to call 911 or if you don't want to go to the precinct, you can actually complete police reports online. And as you can see in this slide, you get asked certain questions to kind of filter out what your report is about. And so that's something that we share with block club leaders when we're doing trainings. We do workshops, we do safety presentations in addition to block club trainings. And so if you know businesses, if you know organizations, neighbor associations that are interested, we do a Be Aware of Your Surroundings presentation. I know Nick has been doing it for a long time. I do that presentation as well. We have a Citizens Academy class. I know this year, because of the pandemic, we really didn't have too much, but Citizens Academy is a class that we encourage block club leaders to take so they can know about how different agencies within the city of Minneapolis function and how different agencies work. So this is a really important program that we steer block club leaders towards. So they have an idea of how to get resources, because that's one really big thing about being a block club leader. You have to have the ability to get resources, and so you can present that to your neighborhood. We encourage them to come to Tupac. It's standard at this point. And so we always encourage them to participate in our open house. Unfortunately, this year, because of the pandemic, we didn't have an open house. And then National Night Out. We personally will go to National Night Out and look for block club leaders that are new. And that's actually, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but every National Night Out, every year, we prioritize our visits as a police department on new block club leaders. So that way they kind of get a taste of what National Night Out is about, and they kind of get a taste of how law enforcement responds. And so this is really important as part of our recruitment program. And so that's something that we do as well. What we do not do is we don't get involved in neighborhood disputes as a police department. We don't encourage block club leaders to get involved in neighborhood disputes. We don't give specific referrals. It's inappropriate for us to give referrals to any organization and make recommendations and say, this is who we prefer to work with. And we don't get involved in things that are not a criminal matter. And so, unfortunately, a lot of our calls that come to me and Nick sometimes can be about things that are not police related. And so this is part of a large national discussion about what the police should be responding to and what they should not be responding to. So just kind of a basic rundown of things that we don't do. We don't kick down doors without warrants or anything like that. We don't evict tenants. This has been a big problem. You know, as part of a discussion this year is, as a police department, when we are working with rental property owners, we don't make recommendations to evict. We don't steer them in that direction. That's just something that we've been abstaining from for a while now. And so we ask rental properties to managers to make sure that they're not evicting people just because we contacted them. And so that's kind of a general idea of what block club leadership programs are about. We also go into personal safety, because being a block club leader, sometimes you are involved with multiple, households. You're talking to a lot of people. You're more exposed to the general public. And so we talk about being aware of your surroundings. We talk about personal safety as part of that training. And so we give them an idea of what to watch out for and how to be safe. So that also goes into the presentation. But the number one thing that we talk about, and I'll end this presentation with this. The one thing that we focus heavily on in block club leader trainings is we talk about the opportunity to reduce crime. And so we highlight three areas: garage burglaries, we talk about auto theft, and we talk about theft from motor vehicle. And in each of those three categories, we talk about how about 50% of them can be reduced, 50% of crime can be reduced in those three areas simply by taking away the opportunity for crime. And so when I talk about that, what do I mean? If you're leaving your garage doors unlocked, that's a crime of opportunity. If you're leaving a purse in the back of your car and theft from motor vehicles, that's a crime of opportunity. In the winter time, I know that's a word that a lot of people don't want to hear right now. When we have the keys running inside the car, that's a crime of opportunity. So that's something that we heavily emphasize in our presentation. When we're training new block club leaders, we train them to talk about that frequently. And so when we try to organize 90% of the blocks in the city of Minneapolis, this is one of the foundations of our education as crime prevention specialists to the block club leaders. And this is what we want them to emphasize in terms of making sure that they're training people and they're talking to their neighbors and they're letting people know, reduce the crime of opportunity, lock your garage, lock your car, don't leave anything in the back of your car. So just basic things that we talked about. And with that, I'll end the presentation. If anyone has any questions, as Emily and Cody and I agreed to, you guys can send me those questions. If anyone is interested in becoming a block club leader, reach out to me. I think our email should be at the top of the presentation. If not, I'm going to share my email address in the group chat. And so anyone who's interested in becoming a block club leader can join us. And we're always recruiting. We're always interested in becoming in recruiting new people. So let me know. I'm trying to get to the chat here. Do I need to stop sharing my screen? Okay, good. So I'll put my email address in here. Like I said, if you know anyone who's interested, just let me know, and I will sign them up as a block club leaders. Again, thank you, and I'll end with that, and we'll see you at the next two-pack meeting, guys.
Uh, Rashid, that is the most informative 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes I've spent in a long time. You spent almost 40 minutes.
No.
Okay, 30 minutes. I exaggerated.
Okay. All right. And believe it or not, that's supposed to be a truncated block club leadership. When I do this training, it's for an hour and 20 minutes. And so
You pared that down beautifully. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
It was a wonderful presentation. It did great. Thanks.
I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Rashid.
Yep, we'll see you next month, guys. Thank you. Have a good evening. And like I said, anyone who's interested, my email address is in the group chat. Give them that email address if anyone is interested.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Rashid.
guys.
Sorry you were distracted by my the butterfly on my forehead. I love that photo, and especially that the butterflies were attracted to me. And in light of recent events, at least it wasn't a fly.
No, it's a great. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Thank
We
you,
need
sir.
that. All right,
You are
take care.
special. You are a very, very special person.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Have a good night.
Very much.
Yep, thank you.
Well, one of the things I learned is that I am really obsolete and I have to take new training, because he was talking about stuff that I've been having trouble with and haven't been able to find a place to learn what I wanted to know. So I guess I'm the first one signed up for retraining. We didn't have computer communication back when Carol Osterhus was on board. Okay. If any questions occur to you about Rashid's presentation, I'm going to be copying his PowerPoint and using that for a general outline for my write-up. But contact me at my email if you have a question that doesn't seem to fit in. We'll find a place to fit it in and we'll get you an answer. If you know somebody else who has a question they might want to ask, I'm the one you send it to. And the answers will go directly back to the asker if you leave an email address, but I will also post them anonymously on the CourtWatch 2-pack homepage. CourtWatch. I made a deal with Namdi that if the courts have worked their way through the violent cases, they're people hurting people is at the top of the court's backlog attack. And people who don't hurt people, only themselves, sorry, you just have to wait. So that means our CourtWatch list remains the same unless somebody's committed yet another crime while out on release. But there's nothing new to add except that those people have once again been pushed back because there are too many cases clogging the courts of people hurting people. So I looked through some of the crime maps for the last 15 days. In the last, well, actually, yeah, first of all, in the last 14 days, most of the crime in the second remains theft of opportunity of motor vehicles, from motor vehicles, or of bicycles. That is our overwhelming crime spree right there. So lock it up, take it in, bolt it down, whatever. Cody, will you take the invite Sandra? Maybe she's found something to add to the CourtWatch. Hello, Cody.
Say that again.
Sandra Pilardo just asked for an invitation to this.
Okay.
That was me. This is Holly. I saw her at a community event today, and she said she hasn't been getting the invite, so I told her I would pass the message, and Court Watch
Okay.
reminded me of that. So sorry
Okay.
to interrupt.
Okay.
I will add her. Thank you, Holly.
Anyway, as has been the case before, the hotspots remain Marcy Homes, especially Dinkytown, and then there's still some bleeding up, especially through the main traffic corridors, like University Avenue into Northeast. We had, in the last 2 weeks, in the second precinct, we had 4 assaults and 11 robberies of persons, which is overwhelming if you happen to be the target. But compared with the rest of the city, we are still a very low crime rate, even though maybe that's why we get so upset, because it doesn't happen often enough for us to get used to it. That's an awful thing to say. I also checked the year to date, and which is so in 10 months, the second precinct only accounted for 7.9% of crime in the city. That is 333 incidents, but it is 7.9% of the whole thing. And again, this is still a safe place to be. However, our 333 incidents is up from our 2019 incidents. So we do need to have more eyes on the street, among other things, and we do need to lock it up, take it in, or bolt it down. Prospect Park had the heaviest concentration of bike thefts, which is a thought. I don't know how else to describe it. It is a thought. This data is from the dashboard that Rashid just showed you. And it is interactive. You can clunk around and poke out the era or statistics that you want to, how many bike thefts really were there, whatever. You can you can do that poking through the dashboard. And the officer from the second precinct still hasn't gotten a hold of me. Therefore, we are not going to find out anymore tonight about the man who was driving through northeast Minneapolis holding a sawed-off shotgun out the driver's window, which was a next door report with no follow-up or not enough follow-up. And there was so little information given on next door that my contact at the second precinct couldn't come up with a record number or complaint number, blue card number. So, unless anybody has any, I have one really wonderful thing coming up next month, just in time for Thanksgiving. I'm pleased to report that I've been trying for 3 months, since we started having evictions and food insecurity and all sorts of horrible things. I've been trying to get St. Stephen's to come in and give a presentation, because this is for both the second precinct and also for UMPD, and I assume also for the third precinct and on out. This is the go-to place for first stop. If they have, okay. I was walking through Stadium Village and discovered some people sleeping in, I think it was March, on the sidewalk on a steam vent because it's warmer there. And zipped into UMPD and ran into somebody I actually know there and said, I really need a compassionate cop. So will you find one? And explained the situation. And he said, he verified the place, verified what was happening, which was 4 people sleeping on the street because they had no other, apparently, you don't do this because of fun in March. And he came out about 4 minutes later and said, you're too late. We're already on it. And they're getting loaded into a car to go down to St. Stephen's. And by the time I left the appointment I had, which was, yes, exactly. By the time I left the appointment I had, which was like a 5-minute appointment, so it wasn't that long, They were just cleaning up the last, one of the officers was cleaning up the last of the clutter that was left behind because that's something that happens. The cardboard they were using so that the grates of the steam vents didn't hurt so much through their thin blankets. That is what they were cleaning up. They have to sleep on cardboard because otherwise those metal grates hurt. And the people were gone, and presumably they were at St. Stephen's. Well, that is just one of the many things that St. Stephen's does. I know they also have many, many other programs, and the guy who's coming in November, just in time for Thanksgiving, will be telling us about them. And I'm really very, very happy that I finally found somebody there with time to come present to us and tell us all about their many very good programs. St. Stephen's, if you are familiar or unfamiliar with it, is right on Franklin Avenue. With all kinds of signs of lunch this way and counselor this way and stuff out on the street. And they are, I'm just very, very pleased that we can finally get them coming here. Sad. I am out of gas except for to ask you if you have a city event service, a city service, especially social service in this difficult time that we're living through. If you know of a city service that more people should know about, or that you would like to promote a little bit, please let me know what those services are. And I'll try and get somebody to come in and tell us about them and then send the report out. I am still hearing, not as often, I'm still hearing complaints that why doesn't somebody do something about these people? And I get a little fed up sometimes. I think occasionally I get a little bit abrupt. But the point is, of course, that I'm much more likely to start shoveling out a truckload of references to services around the city that can do exactly what these people have been complaining about are not getting addressed. Because that is kind of one of the things that is one of the things that I've been presenting here for quite often, for quite a while. If there's also another municipal service that you would like to have better presented, more widely presented, I would be delighted to do that. They're easier to get speakers from. So it's kind of an easy way to do things.
Emily, I just have a follow-up, if I may.
I'm speech reading you.
To your comment about the St. Stephen's service for homeless folk, and it's really great to hear that. I really do wonder about the capacity, though. On my bike ride yesterday, I hadn't ridden the Greenway for some time, well, a few weeks. Yesterday when I rode the Greenway, from 26th west, it's packed wall to wall with tents. So folks have shifted from the parks. I mean, the Greenway is, that's a Hennepin County corridor. And so it's served by Hennepin County. But folks seem to be shifting there. Annie Young Meadows down at the river bottoms has pretty much stayed the same. I haven't gone by Boom Island recently, but I'm worried about folks along the Greenway. It's just wall-to-wall tents all the way from 26th west to almost to Benamacoska.
Okay,
some gaps where
it's the first time I've actually heard somebody say that.
There are some gaps where there are presumably some more, wealthier folks who can put up chain link. But there are a lot of folks out there. And St. Stephen's sounds wonderful, but winter's coming, and this is a real dire time for a bunch of people.
Yeah, I do know one of the police officers who was the official Grant Snyder, who spoke to us when he was busy taking teenagers out of the sex trade. he has switched from that to the first big encampment. Where was that? That was
Powderhorn Park.
no, bigger than that.
Well, Powderhorn was the one where you got a lot of community and neighborhood folks standing up and helping out.
And that was Grant Snyder's assignment for a while. So I can contact him perhaps and find out if he or somebody else could talk about who's what. That would be a good December thing.
You know,
December.
I've participated in some of the neighborhood network meetings that neighborhood and community relations that the city has been running, and some of those have been focused a lot on the homelessness situation,
Mhm.
And community group, your neighborhood groups really trying to step up and help out. But when it shifts from the city to the county, I mean, yesterday, in the past, when I've biked along the Greenway, I've seen Hennepin County vehicles along there. I mean, the one thing that I did notice yesterday was at the Midtown Greenway, well, one, there was plywood on all the windows. And I assume that was in response to Derek Chauvin being released. But across from that, some kind of service had sent up a big food facility. So that was good. And there were just looked like tens of people there. But I don't know what the level of coordination between, and that's not a two-pack situation, I know, but the coordination between the city, the park board, and the county.
If it's coordinating between the city social services and the county social services and general do-gooders like St. Stephen's or Hope Avenue, that would be interesting to find out about it because the logistics are definitely worthy of Commander Gerlich, or if you remember him, yeah, he managed safety for the Super Bowl. He knows how to manage disparate. Okay, coordination between city, county, and private.
Well, then there's the park
Nonprofit.
board. The park board is, you know, it's kind of independent, you know, but
The park board doesn't seem to have a firm place to stand yet. They haven't found.
well, but they've been hosting lots and lots of homeless camps.
Yeah, and yes, they have been, and I don't know if they still are.
Well, the last time we went by Boom Island, it had been sort of orange fenced off. So, and Annie Young Meadows down at the river bottoms, that's a park, that's a MPRB facility. The
fenced
park
off
board
is
still.
fenced off is MPRB.
I'm sorry.
Fenced off. You said the fenced off area is MPRB.
At Bloom Island, yeah, it's Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. I think they did that. I'm not sure, but because folks had been spread out quite a lot in Bloom Island, but also there was just oh my goodness, what was it? I just saw it on the news. Some special memorial site just opened up at Bloom Island. I saw the construction, but I don't.
It goes back into that's our playpen.
What's that?
I said that's our playpen.
Yeah.
Wasn't it for victims of domestic violence or something?
Yes, it's victims of domestic violence.
Yep.
And it is I mean, I mean, I could see it at a distance as it was all, you know, blocked off. But thanks,
That's not the same thing as tents. That's not the same thing as people living in tents.
No. But it's a new feature at Boom Island.
Okay.
And it's a memorial site, and it's a really, it's a really interesting site. Which, like I said, I haven't. I will bike up there and take a closer look at it, but it's just opened, or they're having a virtual open.
Okay. Well, if anybody wants to, that sounds like something that could be pushed down into a incomplete presentation, but little bit more depth. Maybe like for December or January. Oh,
Yeah,
there you go. There you
I was-
go. Cody struck.
The city has put together a draft, not a draft, but some kind of web page, trying to tell what they have been trying to do, their approaches, and what they intend to do in the future. So I think they're going to update this soon with what they intend to do about the winter, but I haven't looked through it, so it could be a resource though.